They always say the people who know your past are the ones who can ruin your future. And for Meghan Markle, let me tell you, that person is not King Charles, not Queen Camilla, not even Kate Middleton, and surprisingly not Prince Harry either. The one who could flip her whole world upside down? Trevor Engelson, the Hollywood producer she was married to long before Windsor Castle ever became her playground.
I don't think she's capable of empathy, remorse, or shame. I don't think she could feel enough to apologize.
As far from a royal event as you can imagine. Beer and barbecue on a beach in Jamaica. Meghan's first wedding to a TV producer named Trevor Engelson.
I choose people whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and they've climbed the greasy pole. They want to be famous, they want to be influential, they want to be powerful, they want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know.
In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dan.
Their marriage ended in 2013, but Trevor didn't just walk away with heartbreak. Oh no. He walked away carrying a treasure chest of stories. Stories so powerful they could slice through Meghan's carefully polished Duchess image in one brutal headline. And the whispers? They say one of those stories is tied to a night in Toronto in 2016. A night that could have ended Meghan's royal dreams before they even had a chance to bloom.
I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince Harry on it.
Before they met?
Yes, and she wants to
That's
pretend.
impressive. You got to admit that is impressive.
Now here's where it gets chilling. That night left no headlines, no police reports, no TMZ flashes, nothing, just silence. And in Hollywood, when there's silence around something this explosive, you know what that usually means. A cover-up.
I mean, she flirts openly with other men. I remember when she was at that tennis match, looked like she was flirting with Serena Williams' husband, like with her skirt and just how she just looks at men. Harry doesn't.
On the surface, Meghan's life in Toronto seemed like a fairy tale movie. Prince Harry was flying in to see her. Their romance was still a secret, and the city looked like the perfect backdrop for love. But insiders, they paint a completely different picture. They say what unfolded that night wasn't about candlelit dinners or cozy rom-com vibes. No, it was what the Toronto nightlife called a run. And let's be clear, that wasn't about jogging. It was about indulgence, the kind of substances Harry's security team prays he never touches.
I thought, what is she not contextually aware? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy.
And then came the real jaw-dropper. Princess Eugenie's name being whispered in connection with that night. Was she involved? Did she even know? Nobody can say for sure, but the fact her name was even tied into that mess was enough to cause shivers. One blurry photo, one headline, and it wouldn't just be Meghan in ruins. It could have embarrassed the entire royal family.
It's an addiction, like many others, and there are very few things in this world where you call the person who's engaging with it a user.
Something went very wrong that night. A brush with exposure so dangerous that had it leaked, Harry and Meghan's love story would have been crushed before their engagement photos even existed. But nothing came out. Why? Because silence on that scale doesn't just happen. It takes big, powerful strings, palace-level strings.
The truth, I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me who she could. So I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even.
And to understand how Meghan managed to slide through something like that untouched, you need to understand the world she built in Toronto. Sure, she filmed Suits there, but her second life revolved around Soho House. Forget tea and biscuits. This was no royal lounge. Behind those velvet ropes, insiders say the menu was far more intense. Lines on the table, late-night deliveries, and a circle of elites who indulged away from the cameras. And Meghan, she wasn't just another guest blending into the background. She was the connector.
Tell you why. What she told the royal family, what she told Harry, wouldn't have jived, wouldn't have been consistent with the.
People didn't remember her as the quiet girl in the corner sipping rosé. They remembered her as the one who could make the party happen. Need something? Meghan knew who to call, where to get it, and how fast. Her power wasn't just charm or beauty. Her real currency was access, and that made her valuable, dangerously valuable.
I'm getting all worked up. I'm a founder. I'm over it. She's not important. She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled she became a quote.
And let's rewind a little. Jamaica, 2011. Meghan's wedding to Trevor. People don't talk about the vows or the tropical romance. Nope. They talk about Meghan sitting down and rolling over 100 joints for her guests. Not one or two as a silly bride's joke. An entire operation. Guests laughed it off back then, calling her laid back and fun. But when you place that alongside the Toronto whispers, it doesn't sound like a one-off at all. It sounds like a pattern.
In the end, nothing beats the truth, the real fact. So when Meghan came along into the scene, I just thought, this is fascinating. How is this going to...
And who saw it all? Trevor. Meghan Meghan wasn't just someone fun to have around at parties. She curated them, she supplied them, she controlled the vibe, and that role, being the mastermind behind the curtain, would become her most dangerous weapon later in life.
And it's living a life that she's winning and she's doing all these great things, but the reality is not that. The reality is she's a joke. It's embarrassing at this point. It's like, oh my gosh, for real, Meghan, you did that? You're gonna keep doing this? I mean, wow.
See, Meghan lived multiple lives at once. To her Hollywood friends, she was the struggling actress racing from audition to audition. To her family back home, she was the polished daughter, the perfect girl who knew how to keep appearances. To Harry, she was the escape, the safe harbor from suffocating palace rules. And in Toronto's Soho circle, she was the fearless party queen.
Your family, you should be so thankful this woman wanted to leave, because she's not going to bring any good to the branding of royalty. She's going to downgrade it to a level of ghetto, and that's what it is. This is just bad.
The genius was how she kept those lives separate. Each circle believed they knew the real Meghan, but in truth, every single one of them was only seeing a carefully chosen mask. And that's exactly why the whispers about Toronto never died. Because they weren't random. They fit perfectly into a pattern Meghan had carried all along. By the time Harry entered her life, Meghan didn't need to play innocent. Harry had his own history. Vegas scandals, wild nights, the notorious reputation. He didn't need taming. What he needed was someone who could keep up, someone who could handle the chaos and manage it. Meghan gave him exactly that. Indulgence wrapped in secrecy. She gave him something he'd never had before. Freedom. Freedom to step into the shadows without a tabloid lens following every move. Freedom to indulge in the messier parts of life without facing the crushing consequences. Meghan didn't just tolerate Harry's darker side, she controlled it. And for a man stalked by cameras since childhood, that was intoxicating. But here's where the story twists even sharper. Meghan's reinventions weren't just emotional masks. They were physical ones too. Line up old photos against newer ones, and the changes are striking. Officially, it was cosmetic polish. But insiders whispered something else. Years of indulgence had taken a toll, especially on her nose. Allegedly, surgeries weren't only about beauty upgrades, they were about repair. And while Meghan kept reinventing herself, she also began erasing. She didn't want Harry meeting her father, not before the engagement, not even after. She knew Thomas Markle could shatter the fairy tale narrative she carefully fed Harry about her upbringing. And you know what? Her mother, completely willing to back that script. Each surgery, each erased connection, it wasn't about reinvention, it was about deletion. The Meghan before, gone. The Meghan after, untouchable. At least on the surface. So here's the chilling truth. Meghan didn't just erase features from her face, she erased people too. Friends who once partied with her, vanished. Family members, cut off clean. And even Trevor, the man who knew her best, the man who shared her most intimate years, was scrubbed out of her story like an unwanted typo in a press release. Meghan's strategy was brutally simple. Build, erase, rebuild, erase. Leave no bridges intact for anyone to cross back into her life. That way, when whispers started circulating, Meghan could shrug them off and say, "That's not me." And in a way, she wasn't lying, because that version of Meghan no longer existed. She had carefully buried her past beneath new versions of herself, each one more polished and untouchable than the last. And yet, here's the bombshell. Megyn Kelly revealed recently that Trevor Engelson, through an intermediary, has started letting stories slip. And these aren't harmless little anecdotes. These are the kind of revelations that line up with everything insiders have whispered for years. But cracks in Meghan's fairy tale have always been there if you look closely. Remember when she swore up and down that she never Googled Harry before meeting him? And then, almost comically, described his traits like she had memorized his entire Wikipedia page. Or when she insisted she was trapped and isolated in the UK, while records showed she was jet-setting across Europe. Even her royal biography once boasted pages of glowing accolades. Slowly, one by one, those lines were stripped away until all that was left was a single sentence. Meghan Markle, actress from Suits. That wasn't an oversight. That was deliberate. A quiet, humiliating downgrade from the palace itself. And let's not forget, this woman always had her eye on the prize. Multiple insiders exposed how Meghan literally had Harry on her vision board when she was younger. Prince Harry wasn't just a crush. He was the goal. Every step, every reinvention, every mask, it all led toward marrying him. But then the contradictions pile up. She claimed she didn't care about fame, yet everything about her life screamed ambition. She claimed she stumbled into love, yet the whispers say she engineered it from the start. And when you add in Trevor's stories, the Toronto whispers, and the Jamaica memories, the puzzle pieces fit together in a way that's impossible to ignore. Trevor, of all people, knows the real Meghan, the girl who rolled over 100 joints for her own wedding guests, the woman who navigated Toronto's Soho house like a queen, connecting elites to indulgences behind closed doors, the Meghan who could curate chaos and control it. That's the woman Harry married, not the fairy tale duchess plastered across glossy magazines. And then come the surgeries. Old photos lined up against new ones tell a story Meghan doesn't want told. It wasn't about chasing perfection. It was about erasing evidence, burying the woman who existed before so no one could ever use her past against her. But here's the irony. Trevor's whispers are doing exactly that. They're pulling those erased versions back into the light. The woman behind the curated speeches, the woman behind the palace photo ops. For every polished charity event, there's a shadow from Toronto. For every carefully staged palace portrait, there's a memory from Jamaica. And that's what makes Meghan's story so unsettling. She didn't just build her future, she edited it like a film script, piece by piece, erasing scenes that didn't fit, recasting herself in new roles, cutting out characters she no longer wanted, and rewriting her narrative until it looked flawless. But perfection is fragile. All it takes is one person, one Trevor Engelson, to open his mouth. Because if his stories keep surfacing, Meghan's carefully constructed image could come crashing down. Think about it. Trevor holds the keys to years of secrets. He saw her masks being built. He watched her switch between identities. He knew the Meghan who was a hustling actress, the Meghan who was a party queen, and the Meghan who was a strategic social climber. And if he speaks, the fairy tale duchess image could unravel overnight. And here's the kicker. This isn't even the full story. What we've heard so far, it barely scratches the surface, because the real question isn't about the secrets Meghan has already hidden. The real question is, what's still out there, buried in the shadows, waiting to explode? Because Meghan Markle has always been one thing, a woman behind a mask. She smiles for the cameras, delivers the speeches, and poses for the pictures. But behind it all, there's a story unfinished. A story Trevor Engelson may very well decide to finish for her. And if he does, Meghan's carefully built empire of reinvention, erasure, and control might not survive the fallout.